Good evening and salutations, my Days of Elias fans. I gotta sit there and say that I really enjoyed this episode. With that being said, there was some stuff that they could have just cut out. They really could have just cut it out. I mean, cut out some of the stuff. Um, and I'm gonna talk about some of the stuff they could have just left out, like Chanel and Theo. Like they were just literally there for, I wouldn't sit there and say for fluff, but I would sit there and say for filler. All they really did was talk about, oh, poor, woe is me. I got to sit there and pick between these two people. My life is so dramatic. And it was just like, after a while, I'm like, I cannot believe we're still talking about this stupid side story. Now, I clearly have not liked this whole stupid love triangle since it started. Um, I know some people do, and that's great. I'm just not one of them. Now Theo does talk about how he's with Claire. They're a thing now. So there's one point he's like, oh, how about you just sit there and hook up with me? And then he's like, oh, I'm joking. Me and Claire, we've been going out for a while, and yada yada yada. And in the end, it's not like it even really gets solved. All she says is, I'm gonna have to pick somebody. I'm gonna have to hurt somebody. Okay. What do you want? Some sort of sympathy? I'm sure it just doesn't work for me. I'm trying to sit there and trying to put a positive spin on it, but every time I try, it just irks me because I know that I just don't like this story, and I can't even sit there and pretend like I'm gonna sit there and try to say some positive things about it because I really don't have any. Um, and the other side story that I could have did without, even though I like seeing Doug, is the whole Doug and Julie thing. Now before then, you know, Eli wasn't there blaming himself. He was like, listen, if I didn't tell her that I knew what I knew, then she wouldn't have been pressured to really say anything. Like he just started blaming himself for the situation at hand. But at the end of the day, I mean, people made choices, and this was the outcome of that. After he left to go and try to see what he can do, Doug came over and helped with the twins and got them asleep, and it was nice seeing Doug. It's always nice seeing Doug. So it wasn't exactly terrible. Here's the thing. I could have watched Doug and Julie for 3 hours versus 5 minutes of Chanel and Theo. Let's talk about Justin and Melinda. So Melinda decided to change the deal at the last minute. She was going to do, I think, like maybe 3 years or whatever, minimal security, yada, yada, yada. Justin was like, all right, listen, we had a good talk last night on the phone, so, I just want to make sure everything is good. We can sign off on it. We can be good to go. And Melinda was like, yeah, I slept on that, and not really feeling it. I think I'm just going to throw the book at her instead. Now, at first Justin's like, all right, well, you can sit there and try, but you don't really have anything. But Melinda has mace up her sleeve, something she's been keeping for a while, as far as Eli knowing that Lonnie helped Kristin escape. So now she's like, all right, I'm going to make him testify against Lonnie, and just throw the book at her. And Justin was like, listen, if you had this ace, if you had this thing for a while, why sit on it? Doesn't seem like you. Now she says that she has a heart. She's like, she believed in second chances, but you know between Kristin and now this and probably every other thing that happened before I started watching the show, she's like, yeah, she's pretty much kind of run out of chances. She talks about police closing rank, her dad using his influence to sit there and really kind of just shut everything down. I felt like I didn't know how to feel about I didn't know how to feel about Melinda. Um, her whole throwing the book at Lonnie because there's only two scenarios. Either one, she was waiting. She was waiting to her back was against the wall. She might need a favor or something like that, and she could just pour that out any time that she wanted. You know, that this had nothing to do with she having a heart or anything like that. You know, she was just waiting for the right time to use it. Especially changing the deal at the last minute. It's like, wow, that's some real scum. That's a real scumbag move. But you know, there's a lot of fans that feel that Lonnie should go to jail for what she did. They feel that you know this man wasn't a threat. She came in there and she just shot him. Now, granted, we all saw that. We all saw what wound up happening. But I always feel like there's an argument that could have been made where, he did have his hand up like he was about to sit there and you know, hit Paulina. Her dad's on the floor leaking. There could have been an argument made as far as, um, you know, self-defense. Now, granted, you could have shot him in the leg, could have shot him in the arm, could have shot him in a bunch of different places other than where she chose to shoot him at. Like, this was a kill shot. This wasn't a warning shot. This wasn't a I'm taking you in. This was a kill shot. So, it's kind of up and down. I understand like where both sides are coming from, which is why it's so hard for me to be like, you know what? Given how Lonnie probably skated on a lot of other things, and she could have said something, she chose to sit on it. Maybe she has a point. Just maybe she has a point. It is kind of a scumbag thing to do at the last minute, but I can see both sides of it. So at this point, Justin tells Abe and Paulina because they woke up together, had some nasty ass eggs and everything like that, and they get the news that Melinda's going to throw the book at Lonnie. Now Grace came in. Grace was talking for a little bit, and they all go down to the station. And Abe is like, "Yo, are you serious? Like, you throwing a book at Lonnie? Like," so they go back and forth. And there's one point where Paulina is just like she's done. She's over it. She's pissed. And the last couple of lines was when Melinda was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sit there," because I think Paulina was like, "Oh, you're gonna sit there and railroad my daughter, and you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you just do that?" And um, Melinda's like, "And what are you gonna sit there and do to stop me?" Or something like that. And at first, the way she said it was just so threatening. Like, "What are you gonna sit there and do to stop me?" And I kind of stood there like, I I know she's kind of like I know she's kind of threatening her and she should be pissed off, but I don't know when Melinda gets when she gets that fired up, almost hot. I can't. I mean, the whole time that they're watching us, the way she says was like, "Well, what are you gonna sit and do to stop me?" And I was like, "Damn, it's kind of hot." But with that being said, Paulina just kind of standing there. She just has to look like, if this was back in the day, she probably would have swung on her. Okay, but she's like, "Okay, I got this." And she brings Grace out. Grace tells a story. Melinda does feel bad. But, she's like, "Listen, my hands are tied. It's the law. What do you want me to do at this point?" She broke a couple, she broke a bunch of laws. Like, I got to do what I got to do. But then Abe talks about, the court of public opinion. The fact that after Grace told her story of both of these women getting beaten, that she didn't try to do anything. She chose to sit there and side with an abuser rather than victims. You know, and it's not going to look good. And especially for a woman, it's really not going to look good. So, with all that, her looking at her being fired, because at first, Melinda was like, well, you think you're going to fire me? Pretty much like, oh, you're just going to abuse your power. But at this point, he looks at her like, yo, listen, I'm not going to have a choice. I mean, they're going to demand that you be fired. So, with that being said, Melinda's like, blackmailing. All right, I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to forget any of that. And Paulina says the words like, you ever try to do something like that again with my family? I'm coming after you. I'm going to be right back in your face, and you're not going to like it. She walks out. 8 walks out. Melinda gets pissed. Oh my goodness, Melinda gets pissed. I feel like it's not going to be that long before this woman snaps. Okay? It's not going to be that long before this woman snaps. I still remember when Gabby grabbed her arm and said what she said, and at the end when Gabby left, she was like, bitch. And there's been a couple other times I've seen that I can vaguely remember her just getting really angry afterwards. On top of the fact that she's been losing a lot of cases that she's been sitting there trying to, throw people under the bus or just like, Bella's guilty. I'm going to sit there and take her down or whatever. I just feel like all those losses, all those people getting over on her, I feel like there's going to be a time and a point where she's just going on and snapping. You know what? As I'm sitting there talking about snapping and everything like that, I'm just like, maybe we should put Melinda on the suspect list of who killed Abby, because it's not so much that this woman has a temper, it's that she has a temper and she's been losing a lot. She's been dealing with a lot. Like, I know that she probably didn't do it, but all I'm sitting there saying is, at this point, I wouldn't put it past her. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't put it past her. We can call this a DID case. I don't care what you want to call it. I just feel like this woman is on the verge of snapping. Now, Kristin, pretending to be Susan Banks, coming there to talk to Lonnie about trying to get her out. Like, yo, listen, she's gonna she's gonna sit there and take that deal. You're gonna be screwed in jail. You're not gonna see your kids, and trust me, from a person who doesn't get to see their child, is torture every single day. On top of that, she's like, yo, you do realize that you're a cop, right? And do you know how they treat, cops in jail? And, Lonnie's all like, oh, you just need to try to scare me. Okay, all right, sweetheart. I guess they'll sit there. I guess you could sit there and test that theory on day one of being in jail. Um, Now while she's sitting there trying to, I guess, talk some sense into her about like letting Kristin, get her out, Eli comes in there and Eli walks in there and he's like, what the hell? And she's all like, oh no, I'm Susan Banks, and Eli's like, do you want me to sit there and rip off that wig? And we just sit there and just tell this right now? So, she's like, well, I mean, he's like, yo, listen, I'm gonna sit there. I'm arresting you at this point. Justin walks in before he gets a chance to do anything. And Justin's like, it went sideways. Melinda changed the deal. You're getting murder one, life without the possibility of parole. Me saying that reminds me of that movie, Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. That is such a timeless movie. Like, that is probably one of the very few movies I can always watch. But yeah, he's like, yo, listen, you're pretty much gonna be screwed. And this is after, Lonnie's like, look, everyone's here, everyone can sit there and listen, it's fine. When Justin tells her that, Lonnie's like, she gets scared, she gets nervous. Honestly, to tell you the truth, it looks like she's about to throw up. Like, that's how nervous she gets. And I'm just looking at her the whole time. I was like, nah, sweetheart, you wanted this. You wanted to sit there and go to jail. Remember that? Remember you wanted to go to jail to confess and do the right thing and all that good stuff? So how does doing the right thing look for you now? How does that feel? It still feels good? Still feeling like you're the champion of justice and all that good stuff? Um, so after Justin leaves, Kristen's like, let me break you out. I'm gonna tell like and she literally was like, all right, let me lay down this plan for you. You're gonna do A, you're gonna do B. She's gonna sit there and send you. She's gonna be remanded you. Like she's gonna sit there and remanded you to, or like she's gonna send you to jail, whatever. And the judge's gonna sign off on it. And that's when you let me take over. And you don't stop me, pretty much. And at first Eli was really angry. He was like, "Yo, listen, we're only in this position because she allowed you to escape." Now, one of the things that Justin was mad about, but he didn't flip out about, was him being blindsided. When he was with Melinda, and Melinda was like, "Oh yeah, um, Lonnie helped Kristin escape," and Eli knew about it. He just had that look of surprise in his face, and that's something that really pisses off lawyers. When they're trying to defend somebody, and you don't give them all the information, and during whatever they're doing, they get blindsided. It's not good for a couple of reasons. And on top of most of it, confidence. You're going to the table with a certain level of confidence. And even when you're sitting there arguing, when you're sitting there trying to negotiate a deal with the DA or whatever, you have to come in there with a certain level of confidence. The fact that he got blindsided and he didn't know, he starts to lose confidence. It's literally a game, a card game, a bluff or whatever, and you're pretty much, giving him a losing hand from the start. So I kind of sat there, and while Eli's there blaming, Kristin, I'm like, yo, y'all two should also be to blame on this for blindsiding this man in the first place. I mean, granted, whether he knew or he didn't know, at the time Melinda still had the upper hand. But, I mean, granted, it worked out in the end. It worked out in the end. They went back to the original deal. But for a hot minute, when Kristin was sitting there talking about breaking her out, there was a part of Eli that was like, as much as I don't like this woman, I'm not saying anything. I'm not opposing any of this, you know? But, they got the good news and, well, good news as far as like 3 to 5 years. That is back to the original deal. So, Eli comes back, sees Kristin without the wig, and at first he was like, I thought she was going to try to run. And Kristin's like, nope. Now, Kristin, I've been watching this show for that long, but I love Kristin. Because Kristin was like, all right, listen, Lonnie practically inspired me. And I'm done and I'm tired of running. After Lonnie was like, are you happy running? Smith is saying like, I'm going to have to keep the twins on a run and everything like that. I don't want to do that. Are you happy? Do you really feel like you're happy? Do you really feel like you're free? Are you just constantly going to be sitting there looking on your shoulders? Like, how does that feel? And Kristin's like, all right, you can arrest me. Now I feel like Kristin is not the type of person that's just going to go down swinging. She has a plan. Kristin always has a plan. Because I mean, granted, she knew that there was a chance. She had to know that going in that police station, that there was a good chance of her getting caught. Hell, if not by Eli, by somebody else. So I felt like she came in there to turn herself in so she can deal with whatever type of, whatever type of, like she had some sort of plan. I don't know what it is, but I feel like she has some sort of plan. Um, I know she was sitting there talking to Jake earlier. You know, she did Jake a solid by, you know, siding with Jake and Gabby. And she did sit there and say she wanted something in return. Now, I don't know what that is, but I have a feeling that Jake is going to somehow be involved in whatever Kristin's plan is. So, yes, all in all, I would definitely sit there and say it was a good episode. Um, Minus the whole Chanel and Theo stuff. Um, you know, it's funny, the twins went to sleep after they started singing, after Julie and Doug started singing. And I'm sitting there just thinking, like, you know, I'm pretty sure the twins just probably went to sleep as fast as they could so they could stop those two from singing. That's what I think they were just like, you know what, listen, let's just go sleep. Because if we don't, we gotta sit there and listen to those two. Just no, let's I don't care if we gotta sit there and fake it. Let's just close our eyes and eventually they'll just stop. Um yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.